Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of For the Black Child. In the recent weeks, in the recent episodes, we've had a lot of people that have come on the panel to give their shares and their views on many topics that we discussed. And today, I'm just blessed with a lovely cast that I have in the likes of
Mary.
Richard.
Irene.
and myself, the host, Luki. And today's topic is going to be broken family. So stay tuned.
Growing up till I was 12 was pretty good. Had a loving home back in Africa. My sister was the kind of like guardian angel kind of thing. So it was really good. Came here when I was like 9. And then from there on, it was kind of different. And
Was it the cultural shock that was different, or is it encompassing both of the broken family that you're in, or rather, the family values?
I think it was
From?
me being apart from my mom, and now with my cousins and aunties and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the way they ran their family kind of thing was different than how my
Right.
mom just treat me, you know, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So it changed when I was like 9.
Right.
I feel like I can also relate to Richard a little bit. With my family, like back when we were in Zim, it was pretty much the three of us, me, my mom, and my dad. But I still spent so much time with my mom because she was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was always at work. So for me, life back then with my family, it was great, you know. And then when my dad moved to Australia, it was still just me and mom, and it was just two girls just having fun. And then when we moved here, that's when things kind of shifted, you know, and that's when, you know, I guess you could say things kind of turned for the worst in a sense. So, yeah.
So, if you don't mind me asking. So, when you shifted, obviously, when you guys moved there, what do you think was a factor of things shifting? Like, was it the fact that you just grew up with your mom and your dad being away, and then all of a sudden you guys are reunited, or?
No, you could just tell the dynamic between both parents, and I
Right.
feel like some children, African children, can also relate that between them two, like things just kind of, you know, it kind of changed. Like you knew that mom loves dad,
Right.
and dad loved mom. Like, you know, I grew up seeing my mom, even though she was a stay-at-home mom, she would like, you know, do her makeup and stuff and shower and like smell nice right before dad came back from work so that she would look nice for dad. But then when we came here, it just
Everything just changed. Okay. Okay.
everything just changed. You could just tell that like slowly these two are kind of drifting. You can just, even though you're young, like, parents don't think you notice those things.
I'll probably say it was your normal standard mom and dad, kids. Very happy, like very lots of love. Up until about 15, and then my parents divorced. So obviously that was quite different. Yeah.
So, in the good years, what did you really think made the foundation of that?
Well, I think for me, like it was a bit different. Just even talking to some of my friends, because it's like, you know, when you look at our African culture, then it'll be like, you know, men can't be in the kitchen. You know, dads don't cook or wash the dishes, but like for me, I grew up with something completely different. Like my dad cooked, he washed the dishes, so it was like interesting just seeing that dynamic of things. So it's kind of like, oh, but I thought, you know,
I thought it was the other way around.
yeah. So I like the relationship, like the love was definitely there, and obviously when they divorced, yeah, that took a bit of a left turn, didn't it? Yeah.
Like I've said in other episodes, I was a child who was just chucked in boarding school. So I didn't get to see much of both parents really. But obviously, most of the time when you go back home, it's only just, you know, your mother and obviously my 3 siblings. So we just sort of bonded with each other, with my father being mostly away. And obviously with the relationship between my father and my mother, sometimes it will be rocky. It will be rocky, but I think they managed to sort of hash a lot of things down so that we don't particularly notice it. But personally, myself being too observant, doing the fact that I'm always away, you tend to pick up all these little things. So I guess along the way, you start seeing when
What was like? What was the influence? Because you all talked about fathers, mothers. But for me, it's like there was no dad. Like,
right.
So what's the difference? Like, how's your father's like in your homes and all that? And how can you tell, like, in your life now, what role did they play? You know,
Personally, my dad is like a very quiet man, so I get bits of my traits from him. And then my mom was the loud, talkative one. He was sort of just calm, and he wasn't necessarily physically present at times that you would want him to be physically present. He didn't come to watch you perform certain things. He would still be like, oh, I want photos, I want to see, you'd see him be proud that, at least my daughter did this, but he wasn't there because of work. And so for me, I understood that, but I also understood my mom as being that person that was just at everything she wanted to be there, like always.
Yeah, for mine, it's a bit different. To my father, obviously, I can relate to. He's a quiet man. He doesn't say a lot, but when he definitely says something, he's one of those where you sort of listen, that makes sense. He's that type of person. And obviously, being my mom, always the religious young woman that she is, like, very vibrant. She was, I wouldn't say mostly at a lot of events or a lot of things that happened in my life, but she would make sure that she does her best to try to be present or send someone just to be in there for her. Then I think that I sort of picked both traits on both ends because personally, a lot of people know me as a quiet person, but then obviously if I'm in a different crowd, that puts me up. I'm always talkative than my mother, so I'm in between in that one.
I feel like for me, I feel like my mom was there for me a bit, like more emotionally, and I feel like my dad was like more actually like physically. Like he was quiet, but when you did something wrong, like it's like I feel like when I did something wrong, if it was my dad that was punishing me, I'm praying. I'm like, nah. So like mom was always more like like I hope you understand why I beat you. My dad would just beat me and that's it. There's no explanation. But mom would beat me and then she'll apologize and explain why she did it. Yeah, but things like I don't know. I played a lot of sports when I was like younger. Yeah, I was quite a little tomboy. Believe it or not. Not that I think I'm girly right now. Or anything like that. So like things like what are like games? Like I feel like he would be like ask more about it, or like he would want to like make an effort to go more than. But then if I got home, mom would play me a meal. Like I know you had a big day, so it's like they're there for you different ways. So it's like I feel like there's different things you get from a dad than a mom. And there's no
Because I've never seen my mom have a boyfriend or whatever, a husband, because she told me like after your dad died, I didn't just want to be with a man. So that was in 1994. And then I think 1996, my dad died after 2 years of those two. So I think she played both roles. So she could be tough at times, or she could be soft or crying. So I saw everything in her kind of thing. So she played daddy and mommy at the same time.
Having children out of their marriage. That seems to be a very, very common thing amongst African parents, or actually the African tradition, because God knows what would have happened here. And then the problem is when it's been hidden and it's not brought amongst the family that you're sharing with, it tends to question the integrity of what they teach you when you're growing up and bringing the foundation of obviously being a family. I guess on that one can be part of how the family can be broken, because now you're thinking, okay, there might be some secrets that have been kept that might end up bringing another perspective from how they teach you about, a family does this, a family sits down and talk, a family prays together, family this, and yet they've got some other baggages that are outside of the family.
So do you think it's like a little bit hypocritical?
It seems like it. Most of the cases. Because if you look at it, a lot of step siblings, they don't naturally get along. It's only a very small percentage that you find out that they've got step siblings that they get along with.
Yeah.
And again, remember, you're now including not only just that family dynamic, but including someone who's outside of the family immediate circle that belongs part of that family. And I'm pretty sure a lot of shows on TV broadcast those type of things. And I think it's been normalized in an African home for far too long that since it's a toxic trait, it's become normal. That you expected to happen.
To go back, let's say for example,
Yeah.
we have tradition, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So there's histories of the way we live before Westerners came to Westernize us.
Right.
Yeah, we had kingship, we had all these things. For a man to be like, say, wealthy and important, he needed things. He needed amount of wives, kettles, all those things. We come from a long line of that history. We come from a long line of that living, where if I have this amount of female, if I have this amount of house, if I have this amount of kettles, I'm important, I'm rich, I'm good. So us coming now and saying, oh, this is unhealthy and all that, we have to look at, okay, where did the black family come from? How did the black family look like? Before coming in to say, oh, it's not wrong to have this, this, and this, and this. You get what I mean?
True.
Yeah,
Particularly, I'm not saying it's entirely wrong, if you get what I mean. I'm saying the secrecy of having someone who belongs to that part of the family, is like, because it's like, for example, let's say your whole life, you grow up knowing, oh, this is just my immediate family, this is where, and then someone comes knocking at your door.
I'm your brother.
I'm your brother, or I'm your sister, It's that shock where you're like, I don't know you. What do you mean you're my brother? What do you mean my sister? Now you have questions. You want answers. And your whole life you've been brought, this is your immediate family, these are the people you're supposed to be with and all that. That's where the toxicity starts.
Okay.
You see? So it's not that the fact that you have individuals that are outside of that immediate circle, but the fact that that individual that comes out of nowhere and be like, yo, by the way, I know we haven't seen each other for 20 years or whatever, but I want to let you know that I'm your brother or I'm your sister.
Okay, for example,
Yeah.
I traveled to Africa 2 years ago.
Must be fun.
So, seeing my mom after like 16 years, okay? I've never seen my brother before.
Right.
My older brother back home. We're from the same mom and whatnot, everything good, but I've never seen him.
Did you know him though?
I knew him when I was young, but he traveled out like somewhere, and then
So
I never
you
saw
know
him.
him.
Yeah, I know
That's
him,
good.
but I didn't know him.
No, he's giving an example that you don't know him at all.
Oh yeah,
None of him, like
You didn't
out
know
of thin
him?
air.
Yeah.
Just,
there's more. There's
yo.
more. Let me-
Okay. What did you talk to?
All right, so I had a brother,
Yeah.
and then there's an older one that I'd never met before. Yeah.
Right.
And there was a situation when I went back home. My uncle had 3 wives. So I saw them live and direct.
Right.
They all had their own compound and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they lived together.
Okay.
And so there were differences in opinions, but whenever there was a decision, the man came and settled it. I saw that life when I was there. I think it was 3 months I was there.
Right.
And the kids, like you said, there are different interests, and my mom is better at this. The common thing, my
common
mom can do
competition
this.
between them.
Kind of stuff. Or I was born before you. I'm tied to that stuff. So you have that dynamic in there, and that's just the humanistic side of us, you know.
Right, that's true.
But then, like coming to my part, seeing my brother at first, to me, I felt, I don't know you, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I was open to know him. You get what I mean? Because it depends on situations. Like, oh, was it your fault? Was it my fault? Was it mom's fault? What was the situation back then? Why did
Right.
you leave? Or what happened? And if we can understand that, then okay, let's get to know one another, kind of thing. Because sometimes it's not always like a negative thing. Like my sister, when I was young, she left because she needed to sell stuff so she can give us money and things to survive. So she left for a good reason. So now when I think about it, I'm like, that's a good reason. Because if you would have stayed, we would have all just hungry and died or something like that, you know?
But going back to what you're saying, Luki, like, I feel like we have to look at it from different sides.
Yes.
You're saying it from a side of, like, because we're talking about tradition.
Yeah.
If we're all in Africa right now,
Right.
and somebody came and knocked on your door and said, I'm your brother,
Right.
like, I feel like there's no
We
choice.
welcome you.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah,
It's gonna
that's
be
true.
like, oh, great. And it's, because you see it. You literally live like one happy family as if you've known him all your life. But I feel like coming here, you get a different perspective.
That's
and it's
true.
like, oh, wait a minute. Like, that's actually wrong. Like,
Which is what
Why
I'm basing
are you-
it from.
yeah, but
Which
then
is what I'm basing it from. Because the view I'm putting it from a Western side, considering that or practically from my experience, I grew up half.
yeah.
Half in Africa, half here.
Mhm.
So the view that I'm bringing from a Western side,
Mm.
and obviously relating to obviously the broken family part, I am talking about some of the issues that a lot of modernized children that are African
Yeah.
are facing, because what they are being taught are based on Western values. Now, if it's the African side, hey, we are being taught if a visitor comes in your house and they say they are part of your blood and everything, you're supposed to welcome them. You're supposed to make sure that they're taken care of, and you're supposed to include them into the family. But then on the Western side, we don't see a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Because they'll be treating you as a foreigner and say, okay, this person, yes, they claim this, but how do we know they are really part of us?
But they don't even be like, this is my stepbrother. It's not even like, that's my
You know,
brother. Like, that's my
It
step.
becomes a stepbrother, you see,
Yeah.
because they try to make sure.
But this is the thing.
Yeah,
they
like,
put it in.
no, like,
Remember, I always remember this thing. Like I watched a documentary of like how we are collective and
Yeah.
how Westerners are individuals.
Right.
So, for example, if like, this is going off a bit topic here. So they came, and they said, okay, we're gonna divide these people. So now they give you name step brother. What is a step brother? To us, it's just brother.
It's a brother, right?
your
Okay.
cousin's your brother.
You know what I mean?
Your friend's your brother.
Auntie. What is an auntie? That's my
Yeah.
mom. You know what I mean? So my mom's sister is my mom.
That's true.
I call them that. So there's
True.
that collectiveness about Africa.
That's true.
But then when we come to learn and all that, oh no, you're really not my blood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So
You my second
yeah,
cousin.
you're my second cousin.
My
So-
second cousin. I
Yeah,
can't do
it
this.
starts dividing, it starts separating, and then that's when now you say, no, it's mine, and this is mine kind of thing. Your family there, my family here.
Yeah.
But what I see most, like when I went back home, there's oneness. But then the
That's
issues that happen, they're not aware of it. And once you become aware of something, you get affected by it.
That's it. And it's that affecting that
Yeah.
ends up splitting us.
Yeah.
Which is part of exactly what I was saying, that coming from the side of what the Westerners or the Western world or the modern person that these are the issues that we let in that ends up breaking a family.
Yeah.
Because if we are all back in Africa, we would not be talking about half of these issues about either a broken family and everything. Yes, there might be issues that have happened back then. But because we know that this person comes from a certain bloodline that is attached to us, we literally take them as our own. But it's only when we look at it at those different lenses now, this is where we start bringing topics of broken family, what could be what are the things that make a broken family, what are the foundations, what's really in it. So now we started to diversify, not just based on just African tradition now, but we're now trying to take on the roots of what's causing this, what is the abuse, what about this, what are we normalizing, what are we doing that. So in our African tradition, as perfect as it is, there are some flaws that we just have to root out without having to throw away the whole tradition.
And the kids.
No, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
No, just like what you just said, like in Africa, we're in Africa right now, we wouldn't be talking about this. I have like family and friends that are in, I guess we would say, broken homes, and they don't get along with their step siblings. You
Right.
see the friction. It doesn't really make a difference in the sense that we're here, hence we have this friction. That friction is still there in Africa, whereby step siblings don't get along. Like especially when let's say my dad, right? If he was to marry someone else and I was raised by that woman, in Africa and that woman wasn't such a nice person, I would have a hard time.
Definitely.
You get those, I even have family members that have grown up like that and they'll tell you, I had the hardest childhood, and even till this day, even though we're all adults, we all have our own families, I'm still an outsider because of the fact that they believe that I'm not their mother's child. You see? So I feel like even if we're here or over there, it's still the same. And I understand what you said about the whole tradition in the sense that we have polygamous relationships. You know, you have your parents, your dad or your mother having multiple women and stuff like that, and it's acceptable because that's our culture, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's that oneness within that family. There's always going to be that friction that you're no part of us, you know?
Personally, for me, watching my parents' marriage when they moved here, like for the longest time, I think during my high school years, I didn't even want to get married. Like, told everyone I never ever want to get married. To me, it was like just a piece of paper. That's what marriage meant to me. It was just a piece of paper. It meant nothing. Just from seeing my parents' relationship, I was just like, I want no part of it. Of course, I wanted children, but I remember telling someone, I was like, I'd rather have a child with you than be married to you, to be honest. Let's like co-parent or something, because I don't want to be part of that. But then growing up and now understanding what marriage means, I now want that. I now want that family. But I don't think parents understand that we do see certain things that they do in their marriage. You do hear the arguments, you do see the friction, you can even feel it. Even if they try to hide it, you can still see it. It's really, really clear. And I don't think they acknowledge the fact that it's going to impact you when you have your own adult relationships.
So, I have a question for you. So, like, what changed for you? Because you said, obviously, there was a point where you were like, just you don't want to get married at all. And then it's like, you say now you understand what marriage is.
Yeah. Well, trying to understand what it is. It's from seeing other people's marriages. It's from hanging out with my friends and seeing their parents. You know, it's from, I guess, watching videos that I'm like with people lecturing about marriage and what it truly means and how important it is. And I guess from a Christian perspective, just learning about it even at church has made me realize that there are people out there that don't understand what real marriage is all about and the importance of it. So then they end up, you know, misusing it. They end up doing things that they shouldn't do. And in terms of her question about divorce, personally, seeing my parents' marriage, I was relieved that they got divorced.
Yeah.
For some children, you actually become relieved that they're actually divorced. And even whilst you've experienced that divorced parents type of thing, you hope they never get back together. And like, in the African community, everyone will tell you, oh, I'm so sorry that your parents divorced. Oh, it's such a bad thing. We should pray for them to get back together. And like, personally, I'm like, keep your prayers to yourself. Because, no, I can see, because I can personally see that I'm proud of the person that my dad is becoming. I'm proud of the fact that he's just this independent being that can do whatever he wants to do without having to answer from anyone. And he's actually enjoying his life. He's actually happy. And I can see that my mom is also happy, because you can tell that these two people are just not happy.
Yeah.
There's no use of them being together. They can't say they want to be together for the sake of me, because me seeing them argue depresses me. Like, it just, pretty much shines a negative light on my relationships. And even when you see parents like that in an unhealthy, toxic relationship, you end up accepting things. Like for me, from my perspective as a girl, I ended up tolerating things that no one else would tolerate in a relationship. You end up tolerating a person disrespecting you because you saw an unhealthy relationship. You thought that that's how a relationship is meant to be.
Yeah.
When you see parents that are not romantic or exactly, they don't do any romantic things for each other. There's no like, you know how like, just by looking at a couple, you can tell that these two people are madly in love with each other.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have to have sex in front of you for you to realize that. That you can just tell that these two people are madly in love with each other. And so when you grow up and you never saw that love within your parents, when you enter into a relationship, you feel like that love isn't romantic. Like there's no need for that. Even romance, like what is that? Even when someone comes to you and tries to be romantic, or you consider them a nice guy and you're like, I don't like nice guys. I remember I was like that for the longest time. If I saw someone that was too, I guess you can, for me, I consider them too nice because they were just, I guess, showing you normal love. Showing you like that love that you're meant to, you know, that true
but
love.
you don't know how to receive it, so that
Yeah, you're too nice.
doing too much.
You just exactly. It's really awkward for you to receive.
Yeah.
And for me, I remember one of my friends told me that he was like, because I was complaining, I was like, I don't like this guy. He's too nice. Like I don't. And for him, he was like, you're saying you don't like this guy because he's too nice. Like, what are you trying to say?
Like,
It doesn't make sense to me.
Makes sense.
Until he broke it down for me, he said, like, you think that way because of how you saw your parents' marriage.
Yeah.
So you saw that in your dad never did certain things for your mom, so you thought it was fine. That's how a relationship is meant to be. You saw that your mom never did certain things for your dad, so you thought that was okay. So now that when someone actually shows you that real love, to you it's strange. It's odd. You don't know how to accept it. You don't know. To you just, it's kind of like, you know, you're too nice. I don't like you. It's cringy. Like you literally just cringe at the person being too nice.
You're so nice.
Exactly. But like with other people, they're like, oh yes.
Oh my god, like I want that.
Exactly. I found it so strange. I'm like, no, that's too cringy. And I found myself being drawn to someone that necessarily didn't respect me as much as I wanted to be respected. And I left this nice person that was going to respect me and love me the proper way, which I didn't really understand was actually the proper way. I just thought that
They
toxicness.
say women are crazy.
Exactly. I just,
Honestly.
but it's just how you grow up. It's just how you've grown up. It's just the it's just the parents that have pretty much set that solid foundation for you. So in your mind, you think that toxicness is what a real relationship is.
That's it. That's the one. That's what I want. Exactly.
You want that guy that's gonna be mad, like that's just gonna be mean to you. That's gonna roast you for no reason.
No, not quite. Sorry.
You see? But
So in other words, you're saying that collection from what you said, because I picked a few things. So the piece, like when you talked about your parents having to be divorced and seeing how they are being happy, being themselves. Are you coming from a point where you're able to see that they are happy, and then you have a peace of mind where you don't constantly have to hear all this friction, or you continue to see all this friction? And also, are you saying that they are also showing you the other sides of love and how a family should be through their individuality? That makes you rethink, like what you said before. You think, oh, you know what, I don't get married, I'll just have a child, and you know, we just co-parent, and then you do your own thing and I do my own thing. Were those the foundations as to some of the decisions that you made leading up to you changing your mind when being married, or is there some of the things that you learned along the way?
I feel like in regards to your first question, in the sense that like that peace that you have when your parents divorce, it comes from seeing and hearing things. When you grow up with parents that make it obvious that they're yelling at each other and that there's friction and that your dad, or like when your mom comes up to you and says your dad did this, he cheated on me with this woman, and like you just, and then she tells you she's unhappy because of this, your dad did that to me. When you like grow up hearing all those things and then you hear that they're divorced, you're like, thank God.
Thank God, that's all.
I no longer have to hear any of that, because now he can do whatever he wants to do and it doesn't affect you. I don't have to hear anything from you. And also for me, because I have a little brother, he also, and I'm sure when he gets older, he'll finally understand certain things. He also had our parents argue and stuff like that. And it's not very good. And I feel like from me and him both are kind of like, we're not even angry at our parents if they divorce, like some children can be like, oh, why would you do that? It's horrible. We're kind of like calm, we're chilled. We know that we'll see each other when we see each other. When we see each other, it's good vibes. There's no, friction between us. Like there isn't that, oh, we're distant. He's just a little boy that likes to play games. So I can't say, oh, he's being distant because he hates me. No, that's just the way he's always been, just playing games. So when you grow up in that family whereby the friction is very much obvious to you, the arguments are common.
Yeah.
When that divorce comes,
It's a peace.
it's
peaceful
settling.
place.
And a lot of people like to think, oh, you're sad because of the divorce, or you're angry because of no, you weren't there. That's why you assume that you want to pray for the marriage to be revived. You can pray all you want, but at the
the
end,
reality is
the
different
reality
from,
is
okay.
God is not going to force you to be with someone you don't want to be with.
Yeah.
That's why He gave you free will.
Yeah.
So you can't really pray your way through, solidifying a relationship that's not there. So for me, I feel like I'd be much happier seeing both of my parents happy, because seeing them together, they weren't so happy. It was just like, we're just together, but we're not in love. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would rather be so more excited if I saw them with other people and being more happy.
That's so interesting that you say. Like, it's interesting hearing from your perspective right now, because I feel like for me it was like completely opposite of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like when my parents divorced, it was like a total surprise. Like, I never saw them argue one time. Like, this was like, I was like, you say what now? Like, what? Yeah, and then honestly, I went through this phase where I was just like, all men should die in a hole. And I just blamed the world. And I was an angry little teen. Yeah, it was not fun years. Like, so the fact that it was like a surprise, because I was like, why are you guys doing that? Like, do you not love us? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, so I felt like it was like completely different. But again, with what you're saying, obviously, you're a child. Like, your first role models, it's your parents. Like, that's what you're surrounded by. Your parents and your close family friends. That's like what you see to be normal. So it's kind of like, that's what you're gonna, obviously when you get into your own relationship, like you would take from that. So it's like, it was interesting for me. Like, I felt like when they divorced, so when they actually divorced, I didn't talk to my dad for like 5 years. So it was like him being absent, and then I shouldn't have been dating at that time. I swear it was just a bad idea. But I did have a boyfriend at the time, so it was like I was trying to fill this void, but obviously it wasn't from, like, he couldn't obviously feel it. It wasn't later on until I actually like, damn, I should really deal with my issues. Yeah. And then it's like obviously sitting down with my dad and actually having a conversation. It's like, oh wow, I actually didn't know that you guys actually felt that way, or I hurt you in that way, but it was like this is between me and your mom, but I'm kind of like, do you see the effect that it had on us as kids? Or like, because I was the oldest, my little brother was 1, or he was just born when it happened. But it's like now him growing up and him asking questions like, where's my dad? I'm like, or like, when, he goes to school, little Timmy's dad picks him up and he's like, when's my dad gonna pick me up? I'm like, oh, sit down, let's have a chat. Yeah. But it's like things like that, but it's like sitting down and having a conversation with both of them and actually like, okay, so like this is how it hurt us as kids. Because I feel like when it's happening, I don't think they thought about the consequences that it would have on the kids, or as a whole. Yeah, I feel like they don't think about that. Yeah.
What do you think?
Huh?
What do you think?
There's a lot you said that I was going to respond to. But then I always like the question why. Like, if our parents are like the way they are, and like you said, he left and you were alone and this and this and this, why did he leave? And why did he leave you alone and stuff like that? Because in that moment, there's so much happening. You know, for you, you might be like, oh, I'm hurt. Why isn't my daddy here to protect me, to teach me all this kind of stuff? But why did daddy leave? You know, and why did he go away? You know, if we can find our whys, it will be much easier to understand why our parents do what they do. You know, it's very important because a lot of kids, like even you said another point, there's a lot of kids in African home, even in Africa, that are really hurt, you know, but they don't have a label to that hurt, so it's silent. You know, like just like our parents, they are hurt and they do what they were taught by their parents or what they saw growing up. So my normal is that I will go to work. My love to you is that I will provide for you. I'll take you to school. I'll pay for your school fees. I'll put food on the table. And that's what I know how to love. But again, if you teach me, if I'm aware of what love is and love languages and all these other things, then I might be able to interact with you in that wavelength, you know. But like for now, this is the only way I know how to love you, by providing for you, because this is how I was taught. You know, my dad provided for me, my mom stayed at home, she did her best, and this is what I was taught. I don't know nothing else.
Yeah.
And sometimes like we don't really as kids understand that dynamic as well, because they don't get it. Like you can try to say, daddy, be like this. They don't actually get it. They don't really understand what that is because they were not taught that and they didn't feel that, you know. So I feel like when we experience our negative aspect of these things is because we're aware, because we have labels now, because we can communicate. Oh, I feel hurt. This is that. For them, they don't have that. And it's very difficult to teach someone what they don't know, what they're not aware of. So that's my perspective. And I feel like this kind of conversation, now when we talk to them like, oh, when this happens, this is what we feel. You know, and they're like, oh, okay, we didn't know that. We were just trying our best to make sure you were good, you know. But, yeah.
So do you think that us now being in this Western world, we are learning to sort of tackle some of these issues that a lot of people have been experiencing ever since?
I feel like we are like lights, you know. We are shining upon things that have been dark for a while. Right. You know, there's a lot of kids who can't express how they feel in a home. Like we talked about siblings who are different from different mothers. They feel rejected. They feel hurt. There's abuse. Uncles rape kids. They don't know how to communicate that as well. There's so much things that happen that they don't have a voice because they don't know the language. Like, I don't know what this is called, so I'm going to normalize this. I don't know this is rape. I don't know this is wrong, so I'm going to normalize this. You know, so if we can give a language, then there's an understanding. You get what I mean? So it's that's missing, and this creates that language. Yeah.
I definitely think that, especially like our generation, I feel like we're the ones that can actually even bring that change, or like come close to anything. Because again, like your parents, I feel like we can be like, they're my parents and why. But at the end of the day, what you're saying, they can't give what they don't know how to give. Like to them, they're doing the best they can, and that's what they know to do right. So I feel like it's up to us, because it's like now we're aware, or we have that like a different light, or we're seeing it from a different lens, different perspective. So it's like now you actually have to approach your parents and like, transitioning, of course, not just, it's like baby steps really. Like it's like you have to crawl, walk, and then you run. So it's like, even things like, I think the first time I told my dad, I was like, let's go on a date. He said, what now? You know? But like now it's cool. Like, you know, we'll go out for lunch or whatever, or, you know, we'll go with my mom, or like, you know what, like, I'm really upset. I just need you to sit down and listen to what I have to say. Like, but before, like, there was no space, that wasn't a thing. But it's like, I feel like it's up to us to kind of create that path.
I have a sister. She did bad in school, yeah? She's always getting bad grades, yeah? My mom, the way I call her my mom, but she's like the person that raised me. So she say, you're stupid, you'll never make it anywhere in life, you know, all these things that she's just projecting on this kid. This kid go home, like in her room, I'm like the person who counsel her, it's okay, da. And one day I'm like, you know what? I should actually educate my mom and see where she's coming from or talk to her. So I'm like, Mom, when you say these things and when you're like, oh, you're stupid, I'm paying this, you'll never da. What are you actually saying? Like, I just want her to do better because I'm really working hard to pay for her school fees. You know, why don't you say that?
It's some reverse psychology.
So
that's what it is.
It's like their language is harsh, like just
Honest.
yeah, like you're stupid, but she doesn't really mean that. So she means, hey, I understand you're doing bad in school. I'll really appreciate it if you can study more or talk to me so I can get someone to help you out because I'm paying a lot of money for you to go to school. So that's the language I'm talking about. So when I told my sister, I'm like, Mom really means this. And when she says this, that's not what she's not meaning what she's actually saying. She's like, but Mom makes me feel I'm stupid, that's why I'm doing bad in school. So I started educating Mom. I said, Mom, instead of you saying this, say, oh, I know you're doing well. I just want you to do this. Do you need help? And I just educated Mom more and more to change her language. Because when you are mad, you say a lot of things. After a while, she changed her language. And when she changed her language, my sister started getting better at school. Now my sister's good. So it's that kind of dynamic I'm talking about, even with African parents. They just don't know unless...
Sure. But I think they're definitely, like, they're willing to learn and they're willing to adapt. But again, like, they're not going to be like, oh, I think I should change my language. I think I should, like, love my kids. Like, again, I feel like it's us that now have that different perspective that will bring that change.
I see that with my dad as well. Like, you know, when you grow up in an African home, you don't usually get a parent say, I love you. Like,
no.
Honestly, I don't know, out of nowhere, he just switched. I don't know what happened. But you'd be on the phone call with him, you'd be like, I love you. And
You
you're
say
like,
what?
I love you too.
Bring my dad back. What have you done with it?
What?
I appreciate him, like, just being so wanting to like, just I guess adjusting to like the fact that we live here. And even when you like, I even sat down with him one time, I was even with my brother, and I was like, Dad, what do you think if I like got a boyfriend? And when you ask that question, you think, oh no, I'm gonna get yelled at.
You're gonna die.
And the response I got was like surprising. He was like, you know what, you're old enough, you know, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want to do. Like, just don't do bad things. And it's the same with even thinking, because for me, my mom is a bit harder than my dad. So even going, like, asking, can I go somewhere? Like, my mom, she'll ask you a whole heap of questions with who, to do what time. My dad is just like, go, but don't do no bad things. You know exactly, like, what I don't want you to do, so don't do it, you know? Whereas my mom, it's completely different. So I appreciate him just shifting and just trying to adjust, you know? Even that I love you, sometimes like, you know, it's strange. Like, you're like,
You talking to me?
This is the one way like, this guy's nice, but I don't like it.
You're too nice.
Too foreign.
I like what Risha said about, educating, like how you started educating your mom to kind of bring that language for an understanding exactly. And I feel like sometimes, yes, it is our responsibility. We can take it upon ourselves to say, okay, I'm going to go and educate. But I feel like sometimes as well, it depends on how open-minded the person you are going to is.
I think if you are surrounded with the things that you know and the things that you're familiar with, you don't grow. You need to go to places where it challenges you. So I guess maybe for argument's sake, our mothers being in a Western world, Because if I say my father, he has been exposed to pretty much nearly every culture because he travels, comes back, tells stories and all that. So to him, he's learned a lot of things because he's been exposed to different places. Whereas for mothers, most mothers that are stay homes or probably that just work and they just want to be local because they don't want to move around, I think exposure also opens up their mindset, opens up their vision, opens up their expectation, they opens up their horizons because they get to experience something that's different from what they're familiar with. And we all know that if someone wants to grow, they have to go through the challenging phases. And I just think that having that exposure and giving the path to leading to that exposure would open up and actually solve half of these problems, really. What do you all think?
With projecting, I feel like both males and female have needs. Yeah. With what you were saying, your mom had needs that your father was not meeting, but he was a good father. Before you, that was his wife. So the attention now have changed. It's no more. It's not normal to my wife. It's my kids. So my wife is trying to get me back to where we were. So and it happens again when the kids leave home. They get back again like, oh, I didn't know you were here. You know.
Welcome back.
And you have that renewing again where they're like, oh, kids are gone and we're back. But a lot of the time when projecting comes, like comments, like even with my auntie, she brought the kid's dad here. Yeah. What? It didn't work out. And he just left the house again. Like my auntie spent so much to bring this guy here, like from back home, like so much. And then like the kids now want to know their dad because they didn't know the dad before. So now she's like, oh, I did this. No, you guys are so ungrateful. Why even seeing that man? Da da da. But the kids are trying to grow with it, like trying to know the guy. But she's projecting her hurt. I pay this much. Wow, you guys never knew him. Why now? Like, why even accepting money from him? And they don't understand that. Like, the kid's like, what? I thought you brought him here for us. You know what I mean? Like, for us to get to know him and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. But for her, she's hurt. Like, I spent this much for you to even come to Australia. I suffered, did this, did that, and all the resentment, what he did before, past, present, and future. She starts like just echoing that through her hurt to the kids and all that kind of stuff. And so the kids then say, oh, well, mom is not a good mom. Then they start saying mama's the bad guy. And mom does not want to be the bad. Mom's just projecting what she feels and what this guy's doing to her. But because the guy is not listening, who's the next one? The kids.
Yeah.
The guy's not there. So I will lash out to the kids.
Yeah. No, projection is really bad. I remember like when my parents first divorced, if any of us did anything bad, you're just like your father. I'm like, hold on a minute. But it's like, no, it became like such a normal thing. And then after a while, it's like, we actually sat down and had a conversation with my mom, kind of like, that's actually really hurtful when you say that. But it's like, it took time. And then it's like, oh, okay, I actually didn't know that, you guys felt some type of way when, and I was kind of like, when you even say like negative things, like it affects us. It's kind of like, if you guys, obviously it didn't work out between you two, like, let's keep it that way. Like, because it's almost like then you start having a very negative connotation towards your dad. It's also like, I'm like, okay. So it's kind of like bad cop, good cop kind of thing. So it's kind of like, dad's the bad one. Yeah. That we're going to chill with mom, innit? And then it's like, dad comes with his own story and it's like, wait, what? Like, it was confusing. Like it's like you almost don't know which one, So I think it's bad when parents actually just involve their kids in their issues altogether. I feel like if parents are to divorce or if it doesn't work out, sit down and just explain to the kids, I still love your father. But sometimes.
But they use the kids as what do you call it?
Incentive.
Yeah, prizes. And so if I get the kids, you're gonna get left out.
Now you're gonna suffer.
But then they know that if they bring kids in, one's going to suffer one way or the other. Because if the kids on the dad's side, the mother's going to be like, I carried you for 9 months. Yeah. And then now you're liking him who's projecting all this pain.
Yeah.
And then if you go on the mother's side, then the father's going to be like, well, I'm the seed of why you're here. And now you're going on the mother's side, you're not going to listen to what I'm saying. And obviously, as guys, we don't know how to show emotion. So what do? We cut and we go somewhere else.
You can learn.
Where we feel?
No excuse, mate.
Where we feel what? Where we feel needed.
First of all, I feel like we need to address
Ah.
African men, with this emotion thing.
Aye.
No, I know. You know what we're talking about, like normalizing things.
Yeah.
I feel like that men are emotional. It's
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
a very normal thing.
Oh,
but
that's
honestly, I feel like if we can, or if parents and the tradition, if they can adapt and learn a new way, then I feel like everybody can. So I feel like this whole men are emotional.
Exactly.
No, I think exposure, like what I was saying before, is good because we get to learn all these languages where we can come to a table and talk about it. Because I mean, if we're stuck in our African tradition or we're just localized and not being exposed to things that can help solve something, we're always just going to be repeating the same thing, like what you're saying. Men ain't
I
emotional.
feel like that statement is false and true at the same time. Imagine your man crying every day.
Okay, no.
Every little
no,
thing,
no,
he
no.
cries.
That's not what I
Every
meant.
little
That's
thing,
not
he
what I meant.
complains. Every little thing.
Oh, you become the worst.
You be like, you're a cat.
Like you, my friend, are not strong. You just cry about everything.
First of all-
You call him a wimp. You wouldn't even respect him.
No, listen.
I feel
When
like
I
They
said
acted like us though.
Yeah,
no,
I feel like
that's not what I meant. When I said emotion,
women get that twisted. Like, oh, I want my dad to be more emotional. I want my dad to
Let me
cry.
clarify.
Do you really want your dad to cry?
No, I don't think it's like a be exactly like me because you know, there can only be one woman in the relationship. Sorry, no.
Now the statement changes.
Yes, no. What I'm saying is about emotion. I don't mean that let's cry every day. Like if I come home and I'm like, oh my God, I'm really depressed. Me too, honey. No,
But that's good. You say that's good. That's the way you want.
No.
You want your man to reflect and
No.
understand.
No.
I'm so
You
You
actually
guys are not hearing what I'm
what's
saying.
wrong.
Mm.
You actually want an answer, an honest answer
Yeah.
of what you feel.
We can't do
Because some
No,
people
just like that's like what's wrong. Nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. Even if you're acting crazy, you just see homeboy just sitting there. Like I'd rather you tell me I'm a
Like,
little
you know,
off,
in
I'm
detail,
wrong.
you know?
Exactly. But instead, you just see him sitting there. Like it is what it is.
We're being brought to be rocks. Come on, guys. We've been brought to be rocks. The one person who's not supposed to show his emotion.
You
I
can
don't
at
know.
least express how you feel.
Or for example,
I agree.
if like
I
say a
agree.
woman's like coming to you with something like
Yeah.
an issue or something really upsetting, like do men actually know how to validate women's emotions?
No.
Because it's kind of like tough enough. Right? You can play that.
But that's how we've been brought though.
No,
Like,
but what I'm saying
I
is
do
a
understand what you're
possibility
saying.
to learn. I'm
Yeah.
just
There
saying
is a possibility
no,
to
we
learn.
can learn.
There is a possibility
That's what
to
I'm
learn.
saying.
There is a possibility to
We-
learn.
we
But
also-
unfortunately now we have got to really, break the one thing that's hardening us, which is we're just brought to not have emotions and not cry.
I feel like in
We're
that,
supposed to be there, just be chill, like, okay, it's okay.
men have a very different way of thinking and processing emotion.
Yeah.
And that in itself, if women would study that, it will do you guys very good. And the same thing,
But, you
if
know,
a
vice
man study how a woman is in the mind, it will also do us good. Then that way we'll know how to communicate. But
Yeah.
because of that lack of knowledge, we don't know. And that's why men are just being men and women are just being women. So women are saying, communicate to me. Men are saying, leave me alone. That's
Yeah.
how we communicate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's us. We say, I want to figure it out, then I'll come talk to you. I don't want to figure it out with you.
But
Was it-
sometimes you say, I want to figure it out, and then talk to you. You figure it out, but don't talk to me.
Never.
Sometimes you don't talk.
Why?
No, when we don't talk, we haven't
You
figured it out.
don't want to
Yeah,
talk.
are you sure?
I'm sure.
You taking
But-
2 months to figure
but-
it out?
No,
I'm
boss,
sure.
boss, boss,
Exactly.
men,
You see, this is the thing. This is what I mean.
men
This
are
misunderstanding.
No, we understand
No, you
that
really
you
don't.
No.
Okay, there's no like a time capsule.
Yeah.
you have to know that men are brought to be problem solvers.
Yeah, that's us.
We are brought to be problem. Boss, if you come and say, hey, I'm having a really bad day, you know, this.
Well, maybe I just want you to listen to me.
Yeah,
maybe
that-
don't even
that's
solve
the
my problem.
education.
Are you sure?
That's the education.
Are you sure you just want us to
Sometimes I just
listen?
want you to listen and just validate my emotions.
Exactly.
Validate what I'm feeling. That's it.
That's the education there. You see? That's where we need to learn. Sometimes we may just want to vent, okay? We want to just talk, then we should just listen.
I would really prefer to say I want to vent, then that way I can know I don't have to tell it. Instead of you coming and be like, ah, and then I'm
Maybe
like,
just sit
okay.
and just.
You know, then I'll be like, okay, I don't. No, I don't know whether you want.
Are you listening?
Yeah, exactly. Like I prefer if someone would come and say, hey, I've had a bit, I just want to vent to you. Okay. That way I'll
I
be.
feel like as soon as you say I want to vent, like you just switch off.
No, but then you see, this is what we got to see different. But if you just come and say, this happened, and this happened, sometimes I'll be like, okay, are you telling me to vent or are you telling me to fix the problem? Now you've caught us in a loop. Now we're confused as to which
You
one
should
to
just
do.
Figure it out.
Nah, you cannot say
You
that.
can figure it out
No,
depending
that's-
on what
that's
the
not
situation
true.
is.
That's not
That's
true.
not true.
Okay.
Okay, listen, for example, if I come home and I said, oh, you won't believe what Susan did at work today. Oh my God, I've had a really stressful day. What you gonna do? You gonna kidnap Susan
What?
and like, get rid of her? How are you gonna solve that problem? It ain't nothing to do with you.
Well,
But if I
I'll probably say, just don't talk to Susan, that might sort of the problem. Then you'll be like, but then we will.
Okay, this is the thing.
We're handicapped here, so
going off topic.
we are going off topic, sorry, guys. But
No, but
women is
we're not
I
really
feel,
off topic.
men is I think.
right.
So if you understand these two things, you'll be good. I feel, validate feelings.
That's true.
I think, just
Get ready, give me a solution.
solution.
problem.
That's it. So
And I think that it also applies to also the broken. It actually applies to broken family
Yeah.
because now, with these issues that we're talking about, your mamas are they thinking,
Your mamas.
It's your mom.
Yo, moms.
Your mom.
my mama.
The mom. Mama.
They
That's
come
funny.
home and say, I'm tired. I feel like this, I feel like that. I feel my efforts are not being validated. Now, when your father comes home, he's there thinking, man, I'm working too hard. My wife doesn't even see the efforts. I think I'm not needed here.
Yeah.
I think that she doesn't love me no more.
Exactly.
I think she looks at me like a monster. Hey, what do I have to do? I have to go find a solution.
Where
What's the solution?
Validating.
I have to jump up.
Are you trying to justify cheating? Right?
Yo.
I'm not trying to justify
Are you
cheating.
trying to say?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying men will be where they are understood. Yeah?
So if it's not within the home, they'll go find it elsewhere. Is that what you said?
That's like,
That's
for
the
example,
That's
a
the
woman
problem.
saying, oh, I'm feeling like this, feeling like this, feeling like that. Man is trying to
It's
solve
easy.
it. For example, oh, I'm at home and it's a chaos, blah, blah. Man says, okay, I'm going to work. I'm going to solve this. But what she's communicating is that I need you to sit with me sometime and listen to me.
Have a cup of tea with me.
You know? And then the man's like, for example, I told my missus, okay, we're going somewhere, yeah? I've put in everything. Then she's questioning if I know where I'm going. I'm like, so we met, we just aim and go for it. But sometimes you say, oh, I feel like you're not going the right way. I feel like this, feel like that.
I feel like you don't know. I feel like the
We
way
feel
you
like-
it's not such a dangerous place. Like,
Every time you do that,
Yeah.
the man feels like a failure.
So,
Really?
Which a lot of
Every
women
time.
don't.
what?
And you guys don't
Whenever,
understand.
whenever a woman questions that you
Yeah,
are,
I've never believed
Yeah, because when you say you don't know what you're doing, what about this? Oh my God, look what
Well,
you
like
guys. Now
questioning
you're
your
thinking.
man.
Yeah, you're
You're
like,
questioning
he
our
thinks he's a failure.
integrity,
He
our
feels
ways
like
of
let's
solving a
shoot that.
problem.
Okay, this is sounding like
Yeah.
a relationship.
Yeah.
But then you see,
No,
it starts with a relationship and then goes to a family.
That's the
So
thing.
they go hand in
If
hand.
men
So
understand
you
the
can take
woman,
big parts.
women understand their husband.
I mean,
and
it's
the
like,
kids will be
if you
alright.
think about it, if
You know?
everybody understood each other, there probably won't be divorces.
Yeah.
That's true.
And there will be no friction, and we'll live.
And those broken families started here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already touched that communication is one of the things that we can, use in a sense of like mending those broken families that we have been exposed to.
Mhm.
So communication either between your parents or even communication between your parents to each other to make sure that they're establishing a healthy foundation for the children. Now, to close it off, I just want to ask you guys what you think are some of the steps. We've already established that there are issues within our culture when it comes to families, things that we normalize, and we don't realize that kids are being affected. Black kids are being affected growing up.
That's right.
So what are some of the, some of the tips or some of the steps that now you think, since with what you have learned individually or even from each other just now, some of the steps that we can take now and make our parents understand that certain things, it might not be our parents, but parents understand that certain things you do, they may affect children. And maybe change your perspective, change your thinking. And that way you change your approach to your children. And then what are some of the steps that children who have been affected by certain things can take into now growing and making sure that they don't repeat what they were exposed to in their own new generations that they create going forward?
I feel like you could just, to both the parents and
Sure.
the child.
Very gross.
Yeah. So I'm saying she feels.
She feels Be you right now. We need it.
Feel it.
We need it. We need you to feel it.
I think
No,
I know.
I feel like
Yeah.
deal with your trauma.
Yeah.
Deal with your childhood trauma. I feel like if I could tell my mother, it would be deal with your trauma and don't project it on anyone else than us. I feel like she grew up with so much anger, and that anger, when she got angry, it multiplied for no reason. It could be something so small, but because you've got things that you've never dealt with.
Just like
It
you get
just
slapped
piles
for no
on.
reason.
Exactly. The slap is more powerful
It's
than it's
just
actually meant to
feeling.
be.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I feel like even with me, I feel like personally, or even all of us, we're like the next generation of parents. We feel like we all need to deal with our childhood trauma before we raise children, before we even think about raising children. Because you may not think that that will affect you. You may think that it won't affect me, but it will.
Yeah.
You won't realize that it's affecting you. You won't realize that you're taking out all that anger on your child until someone actually tells you that, hold on, what you're doing is just, or until you even sit down and evaluate yourself that what I'm doing is not right. So I feel like the steps that you could take, or a person should take, is by dealing with their childhood traumas, dealing with the problems. If you know that you've got anger issues and you lash out for no reason, go and find that root cause. Why are you getting angry for that reason? What made you start getting angry like that? So that when you have children, you're not necessarily pushing all that anger onto them or that resentment onto them. So that's how I feel.
I think as well, like forgiveness is important.
Yes. Thinking
I
of
don't
feeling.
understand.
That's good. I feel like it's a thing as well.
No, but please, could you think?
Yeah, I did. So I think like forgiveness is very important when it comes to going forward. Parents, forgive themselves. First, forgive yourself, and then forgive those who have hurt you, and then better yourself, like learning, like things like this. It educate us to move forward. Also with parents, how like even like us individuals talking to our parents, that bridge, on teaching them, educating them on some things, emotional intelligence. We can teach them that as well. Since we are aware of it, they are not. They can just lash out any day. They don't know how to do that. So I think we should also teach them that, and take them places where, even though they're not aware they're being taught, like reverse psychology, they actually are being taught. So take them places where their mind can be open to things, not just leave them home, but take them to parenting things, discussions like this. So they're like, what is this about? But while they are there, their mind is actually clicking, like, oh, I never heard it like that before. Explain terms to them. explain words. What does this mean? What is mental health in an African community? They don't know. They have no clue. They've never heard the word mental health. All they heard is spirituality. Go and pray. That's what it is.
Demons are in you.
That's what it is, you know. But for them not to hear mental health, like what is that? So I think education is very, very important when it comes to us moving forward.
I'll probably say for me, exchanging perspectives, because I feel like as parents and children, like we're really seeing the world and society from completely different lenses. And it's like children are like, my parents, they don't understand like these old people, you know? And then the parents probably like, these kids are just damn stupid, you know? And it's like, we're not really seeing eye to eye. So I feel like, for me, like I saw things very different when I actually sat down with my parents and actually spoke about some of the issues of these things. And it's kind of like, oh, what? Like, I didn't know you saw it that way. And they're like, oh, I didn't actually know it affected you guys. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, like, we could have actually, like, we just took such a long route to resolving these issues and getting to where we needed to be. So I feel like definitely sitting down and sharing perspective. And sometimes it might be very uncomfortable conversations, but they need to be had. Like, it's really important to actually just move on with life, I'd say. And also lead by example. I say obviously it's not, we can talk about it, but it's like what you're actually putting in place to even start that change. Because it's like we're aware, and they're most likely not, like 99%, the parents are not aware of what it is that they're doing. So it's like you have to like not give up and be persistent with, you know, with the little things. You start off small and then they'll get the hang of it, and it's like your relationship will just flourish.
Yeah, I think it's important to be exposed to elements that can improve any relation, everything that's surrounding you. Like I said before, it takes someone to be in a certain space to sort of see things as they are. Like we're talking about how the roots of how broken families come out about and everything. I think it just has to come from a ground where parents, both the father and the mother, or whoever the partners or anything, to just sit down and say, okay guys, which is the root of the problem, like what she was saying, and also come to a stage of being open-minded, like what you said, to sort of deal with these issues, so that tomorrow when you are sitting down with a child or the family that you're growing, you're not exerting all the things from the past.
Right.
You are actually helping create a better future by starting today. Because what we find is a lot of families are like, oh, you know what, our generation has been doing this type of things. So whether it's toxic or not, we just have to continue doing that. And this is how we are raised.
Like you just
this
accept
is how, just accept it that way. Don't question it. And the world is changing. The world is evolving, you know. So we just have to let go of the things that do not add to the value of the future that we want inside of our children.
Yeah.
But rather we should learn and educate ourselves and actually be part of the movement, so that tomorrow when those children grow up and that family grows, they will look back to you as an example of the person who changed the roots. And I believe, like what you said, this generation, we have a bigger task to do, because I know right now, going back home to our families and try to talk to them about
You said what?
oh, you're gonna go through hell. They will not listen, but until that one day that they will sit down and say, okay, fine, let's just open up and just hear what these children are saying, whether privileged or not, or whether they think that we're too spoiled or not. What are we learning from this, and what can we impart to put on this?
But with the generation, I feel like we will have like the best. Like we have the best of both worlds. If you think about it.
We do.
Because, you know, we've
We
got our tradition, we've got our culture,
We do.
and it's like amazing. Now we also have the Western culture. So I feel like we'll pick, you know,
Exactly.
like from each and kind of actually combine something
That is
really
true.
amazing.
That is very, very true. We are the best.
Yeah,
the
I
best
feel like
position
we
ever.
are in a good
There's-
position.
One thing I forgot. In Africa, when you get married, you go for your wife. You pay something for your wife. This thing is one of the root cause of ownership. It's like your kettle,
And domestic violence.
your house, your dog. I own all of that. So I treat my property as I wish.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing is very big. Like I don't even know why I didn't bring it up, but it's one of the root cause to why a relationship between the father and the mother are not as genuine, because it's like, I own you. You should be doing everything I say. You should behave how I want you to behave. You know what I mean? It's ownership. Like, I own you. Why are you messing up? Like, you know?
You just speak back.
You know?
Like I even heard a lot of, not a lot, like some guys that would say that I've worked hard and did my dues, paid cows and everything to own you. So to you, you have to serve to what I need, because I went through the stages of doing all that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where all the other
That's where we don't have time, but this one is good.
They're like, technically I bought you.
By itself.
They'll be like, I technically have bought you. So
You know what? Next video, breakfast.
And the scary part is not even old, like last generation.
Yeah.
It's like
it's every today.
early 20s.
And I feel like some guys end up doing all this, abuse and whatever, because they're like, men, they start thinking that, okay, I've worked hard, I've did my part, I've educated myself, I've put myself in the best place. So the next thing you want to do is get the rewards of the best efforts that you put forward, which now projects to us wrapping up. Thank you for another episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, follow us. Any comments, we'll listen to it, and any topics that you want us to discuss, please do. And for myself and the lovely guests on the team, we say good night and stay tuned for another episode.
Catch you later.
This whole Bala thing.
So, question, Mary. If you had a choice to choose, would you?
Would I have the Of course.
She wasn't money.
Yeah.
You don't have
It's
to receive the bride prize.
Or like, no.
But you don't receive
But
it.
you know what? I always, it's like there's a lot of young guys that are not
People
wanting to
say
do
no,
it.
I
Yeah,
don't
they
want
said
that.
no.
I don't know.
Okay, so how much do you think
But it's not up to you
No,
though.
not even how much I think I'm worth.
How much do you think
You're
you're
not paying for me. You're just thanking my parents for raising me.
worth?
That's it.
But your parents,
Let's take
for
it
example,
You can thank my parents with any amount.
But what if your parents were abusive though? What if your parents were abusive?
I said to
Now, what are you thanking them for?
Exactly.
no, how about your parents?
Thank you for beating her.
Thank you for abandoning me. Thank you so much.
So let's say,
Oh, you paid 30. Well done, my friend.
There are men out here
what did you
complaining with 10K.
oh
They're complaining with
I
10K.
don't know.
yeah, it's actually too much.
So
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
it is too much.
10K.
But I'm glad you paid it, because there's some men that will walk out of the room after 10K is pronounced.
Look,
To be honest, right? I don't mind. I don't mind if they say, okay, fine, no, Bola prize or whatever.
I just
If
feel.
the thing that arises to that amount, because you find out that you got a broke
Some
ass.
parents,
Okay, so you can ask them like, how did you come up to this amount?
some parents
Not
treat it
correct.
like it's a way for me to pay off my debt. That's not how it should be. It's just them thanking you with any amount.
Emmy,
I don't know which culture this is. So they do dowry, but the dowry ends up given back to the bride.
Oh yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yes,
Yeah, I want my money.
I think it makes
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want my money. Yeah, I agree.
So what they do is they collect the money. The bride and the groom
sorry.
don't have to worry about anything. So they basically use the money to cover anything that needs to be covered, and then the rest gets given back to
I
you.
hope that was it.
Okay.
But you see the problem now, they're gonna exhaust all the money.
Huh?
Some of them exhaust all the money now.
Yeah, that's
No,
This is where you see those parents that push for those lavish weddings.
Aw.
Mm-hmm.
No, my mom
My
said.
daughter ain't gonna go to this caterer because they're like this. I want the
I want her to come in a helicopter and
Well,
stuff.
Yeah, it's a deposit.
Oh, that was the deposit. It wasn't the
How
whole.
much
That's crazy.
Don't worry about it, baby girl. Don't you worry.
See, men's crying.
Yeah, it was rough.
Because apparently they say the dowry never ends.
It never does.
Hey,
yeah.
look, my friend's dad.
Are you telling me that until I'm 50 years old, I'm supposed to be...
Apparently you're not paid to pay the full amount.
No, apparently your kids will pay.
I
But
like my dad.
It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, they make you not to pay the full amount so that you feel like you still owe the family. So
Yeah.
you're gonna treat the wife right first of all.
Should want to
But
do
then
it
here's the
regardless.
problem. Every time a member of the wife's family come to your house, they expect you to give them money. There's something like that.
Whenever they have issues, they come to you. Hospital bills, it is yours.
If you say no, oh, you owe us money. Oh,
Yeah.
remember. So it's a good and bad, you know. So
It's like they want to catch you on like, oh, I'm just gonna put you on a bait.
Okay, well, so how do you guys feel about the protests that were happening? Where people are saying, no, hey, come on. No, but there were protests, people protesting like give men back their money.
Oh, with the Zim.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
With that Zim one, they're just saying that you don't need to pay lobola for your marriage to be recognized. And I feel like a lot of people are misreading that. They're thinking, oh, there's no need to pay lobola anymore. They're just saying you don't require your lobola for your marriage.
Wait, was that like
to be-
before you didn't pay then? it's not a
your
marriage?
marriage wouldn't be recognized. Even if you got married at a court, like
Yeah.
it wasn't recognized.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
only
They will still sell you
when
to find a
pay
soldier.
for the
They'll sell
lobola. and you
So you.
This is not a shop.
Sell you
Yeah,
this.
I actually know a couple. They're married, like they were in love and they got married, and the guy didn't agree with the amount that the parents gave. So they got married, but the parents said, "Do not associate with us." And they have a kid. The kid doesn't know their grandparents because they said, "And until you finish." Because to them they saw it as disrespect. You have our daughter and you have not paid the full amount. That's disrespectful. Do not bring your. He didn't pay. No. Like I think she got pregnant before they got married, and then he didn't want to pay the whole of it because he just didn't understand why am I paying.
Oh my God.
But I don't think it's entirely bad. I think it's a good thing, but I think it should be capped at a certain price. It shouldn't
Yeah, but
Okay,
you
what's
see,
the
parents will be like, ah,
Okay, so what do you guys think is a reasonable price? Yeah, I want to know. What's your price?
be me.
Yeah. What would you like to pay for Irene? What would you like to pay for her?
Now, wow. No, I think it should be per person. It should be considered. You know, someone might be nice, but they're not a lawyer. They're not earning 300,000 a year. So you should cap it based on the person's earnings.
Okay, so that doesn't answer a question. So how much? How much? No. Give us a number. Give us a number.
I just did. That's the problem. I think that's the issue here because I think that's one of the numbers. No, to be honest, that's the cultural issue because people walk around with them. Oh, my daughter's worth such an amount. So the man has to. It doesn't matter whether he can afford it, whether he cannot.
Like,
You have to
that
pay that.
element of like I'm paying for her and introduce the element of I'm thanking them. It's just your appreciation.
Yeah, but that thinking, that's what I'm saying. That thinking has to be within.
Why would you cap it?
Like we hear
That's the personal
when I
question.
take 5,000 in class, okay.
What did you say?
I just go to watch the
Important number.
Yeah.
We want to know a number. So roughly, what do you guys think? 5,000 K. 5,000.
Look at that, 5,000.
I hear you.
You ain't gonna take
I
5K.
think this number thing is a problem. I'll give you an example. So in the Dinka tribe, most girls, because they're pretty much the same height, they're tall and whatnot. So 100 cows. That's like, that's expected.
That's the minimum.
Seriously?
Yeah.
100 cows.
Wait,
Okay, 100 cows. How much is a cow?
Go to school. They have a gap in the
How much is
different
the
situation?
Exactly. So if a cow let's say a cow is $500. 1 year is $500. Times that by 100. That's their money after tax.
100 calls, that's too much.
Remove that number mentality.
Mm.
And it's focused. Okay, he's a person. He might be an engineer. He's earning $100,000 a year. This is his plans. Maybe he saved 50 grand, but he wants to buy a house
That's why
so
he's
that he
account.
can take care of my daughter.
Yeah, what is
Okay, fine. How much is the wedding gonna cost?
Literally, no, you make it big, so wipe his account. let's just give them with zero, so let's see how they're gonna feed the daughter.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't need
You
to
know,
consider that.
Exactly. No, I didn't think so.
Then you wonder why men get.
But that's happened with houses.
You know what I
already
think?
built,
I think.
yeah?
I think.
That's how parents, like that have already, like some boys
Oh my
that
God.
already have the houses built, so you exclude the whole, he wants to build a house.
I think
How
if the
much-
government gets in, so let's say the parents say they want 50 grand. Let's say they make a law, any amount of the dowry above 30,000, pay tax.
Yeah, they have to pay.
Once they pay tax, then they'll be like, no, we don't want too much because if we get too much, we'll have to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
The reason why it's like that because it's not regulated. It's not regulated at all.
That's not.
It's not that
But then here's the problem.
Yeah.
Once the man pays them, that's income.
Yeah.
It is income coming to them. So
It doesn't come to
why is it not?
I said we're talking now.
Paying. I feel
No,
no,
I'm
we're not
not
going to pay.
No,
No.
give you
We're not paying.
We are
This is
not
why I
going to
appreciate
pay.
paying. I appreciate paying because, first of all, as a man, it makes me think of marriage more seriously
Yeah,
because I'm actually sacrificing something.
that's true.
As a father, when I become a father, okay, I take my son-in-law actually seriously. I want him to take this seriously. So if you don't sacrifice anything, you can throw it away because you didn't pay anything for it. But I think it's a good thing. It's not actually bad, but I think it's so unregulated that people are just taking advantage of it. So it's not a bad thing. I think it's good, but I think
I mean, I don't mind paying. That's just wrong. If you are willing to sacrifice.
it's just. I think 30,000 should be the cap. Anything above 30,000, anything above 30,000, pay tax.
That's why these accounts so that they don't
Just regulate it.
But then also you want to say,
Just do it.
what if he has a large, like let's say he's a millionaire, and then I charge
That's
him.
a million ones. Doesn't matter by you making. No.
Is that 30K? Means that's
Okay,
It's
listen.
a coffee.
If you're gonna estimate a price for me to pay, I gotta look at the status of your family.
Yes,
I gotta look at your daughter.
amen.
Are you, according to that price, is your daughter up to
Is
that
it
standard?
worth it? Yes. Oh, you better be cold, girl.
No, it actually goes that way. It actually goes both ways. It actually goes both ways. That makes sense.
Why are you with someone that you feel like doesn't meet that standard?
No, because your parents now are
But
saying
then
you need
here's
to
the
pay.
issue.
parents.
Just because someone is rich and
Yeah.
a rich person meets a poor girl, or poor girl meets a poor man, should they not be together because they're not in the same
Then
same bracket?
I'm saying, what were you meaning by standard?
Okay, wait.
Financial standard, or do you mean the person?
You said
like,
finance. I'm talking about money wise.
oh, money wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're not up to that,
Oh, you better be with that.
don't be expecting what you don't have. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
alright.
It's like girls, oh, I want a millionaire. Oh, I want a guy who does this. Are you there?
But you're on Centrelink.
Yeah, are you there?
Exactly.
It depends. Don't expect what you are not.
Or they should make payment options, man.
Yeah.
This is $1,000 every fortnight. Just in case. If she leaves, contract over. So I don't have to pay anymore.
No, I want to just go down.
Funny.
That gives me an idea. They say, how do you have nothing but I'm willing to beg? She messes up, Kari.
No, he said,
Yeah.
no, but like, I think it's different for different families. Like, my mom was saying, I don't know about all Congolese people, but she was saying for some Congolese culture, that when the guy pays the dowry, there's actually a sum of that money. Obviously, after they do the whole, it goes to the uncles and You don't even. I think it's true that the girl doesn't even get some. First of all,
Some of those uncles didn't even raise you anyway. Yeah. Honestly, and they're eating. Them uncles didn't raise you at all, and they're chopping.
I changed one diaper and no, but she said that there's an amount that goes actually towards the wedding because I'm just thinking if they charge something like 60K, which is a bit mad to me, but it's like after that 60K, what are we paying for the wedding? Where are we living after this? We just want to have a little honeymoon. 60K is a bit mad. That's one.
And then you come to the Western wedding like, let's help each other pay for this thing, but oh, sorry.
What would you let your girl help you pay your dowry?
That's not what I said. No. That's not what I said.
Some people do that.
Nah.
No,
There's no respect. I feel like the female later on.
I pay for myself.
I pay for myself.
You're not gonna hang.
I have to help you. I feel like if female were established as like if the man is coming and he's established, gonna pay, and that female was well loaded, we pay that money. My girl got it. We're getting married.
Here's the issue.
So
If a man is rich, he's willing to marry the woman as the way she is.
Yeah.
When a woman is rich, she sees the man as a low class.
Yeah.
Not my class. She doesn't even want like.
But I think it depends on what kind of relationship you have.
It doesn't
Because
matter.
I feel like if you have understanding with someone,
I don't
you will
think
know
so.
that you're
I
both
don't
building
think so.
a family. You're both
Money-
getting married to start a
when money
family.
I think the way money influences women is different though.
Yeah.
don't think someone's gonna be like, oh no, I love my husband. That's what this is.
For example,
No, I
if you're a millionaire right now, what kind of man would you look at?
Let's take
Let's say you got it all together. You private jet, you see there.
She even look at them now, she's like, this is regular.
Yeah, let's just bring that to perspective. Because like the way men handle money compared to women is very different.
It's very different. That's true.
Like when a woman size up, like go to the next level, it's just different.
I think that
They don't look at men the same.
Parents though that are now teaching, I know my parents that are now teaching their daughters like build your own house.
Right.
So that was something.
Even my dad tells me the same thing. He's like, I want you to work
My
hard and
dad
have
was
your
like
own thing.
hammering me about it, like find a
And
good
not
job.
like build
You're
because
still
of
in
that.
uni, but you still find a good job so you can build a house.
Mhm.
Still dealing with student loans.
Because of how
Like
like
happy, like
one thing at a time.
But like they're now telling their children like have something of your own when you enter into that marriage. Have something of your own, so that if something bad happens, you've got something.
But here's a weird thing. Everyone, like most of those ladies that I've met that have houses, that are investment houses, they have a big head.
Oh,
Huge head. I'm telling you.
they have
They have a massive. I'm telling you, massive
I love my
head.
gender, but most of them
Massive
have my
head.
gender too.
But then that's equality because then men have big heads too.
Like all the time about everything.
Much. I work for this family. You know.
That's
another topic.
Let's all wrap it up and get done.
Oh man.
Oh, guys, that was so awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. That was so good.